Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel, and today I want to start a new series called Review and Preview, where I take a look at previous national finals that happened in the last week and preview the national finals that will happen this week. Now, this will not replace the What We Know So Far series, um, because this will only concern itself with televised national finals, and even then, some of these I might not even watch, so um, I'll just do the best I can with all the national finals happening right now and going on. So I thought I'd start this series now, and um, the last episode will probably be on Melody Festival in week or right after it. As you know, Melody Festival is usually the last national final to conclude in the season. So yeah, just I wanted to start a little series just going over national finals. So with that said, let's get into the review part, starting with the Czech Republic. Now, this is actually a blog post that I made. Well, I posted this yesterday actually. And for the most part, I am going to be just reading off of this, but I will add a few of my own comments here and there. Well, these are my comments. However, you know, I wrote this last night, but it was too late for me to record. So, yeah, I'm doing this now. So, yeah, the Czech Republic is returning to their national final named ESCZ, which is short for Eurovision Song CZ. How creative. Um, but yeah, as I mentioned here, nominally they're returning to the national final, but really, it's almost brand new because in the past few years, ESCZ has been effectively in 28 from 2018 to 2020, it was just music videos. From 2021 onwards, I think, or 22, I'm not sure. I think it's 22, yeah. ESC's at 2022 um, had the artists go into the CT studios to do a kind of live on tape performance, and that worked great. And this year they're bringing it even up a further notch by having an actual televised national final. Although, you can tell that they quite need some funding because it was very hastily put together, and I think the head of delegation actually said that it was put together pretty much in a week. It was planned in a week, so yeah, they didn't really have much time. um the stage is pretty small, so yeah, you can tell they need funding. But yeah, I said this during the show. Well, I tweeted it during the show, and I still think it's true. This isn't so much a national final as it is a pitch to the Czech broadcaster to increase Eurovision funding. So we'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, this is also unique because the national final itself took place on the 30th last month, but the results were not immediately announced at the national final. With most national finals, that's kind of what happens. But with this, they actually opened up voting for, I think, a week. Um, as of recording this, the voting is still open. So um, if I post this quickly enough, you can still go to escz2023.com to vote for your favorites. I'm sure they've posted the videos somewhere. So yeah, there were 5 acts, very different acts, each of them. Um, like I wrote here, soft pop, that's Mayella. Spooky pop, that's Pam Rabbit. Wholesome pop. I'm not really sure what to call it, but I guess it's kind of pop. Anyways, that's Marketa Irglova, who actually participated in Iceland's selection last year. Guitar guy pop, which is basically the Rodin guy, and Slavic folk. A lot of people have been talking about this. It's My Sister's Crown by Vesna. They're a six-member or seven-member group with members from the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Bulgaria, and also Russia. Although that last member has caused a little bit of controversy, although it should be noted that she has lived in the Czech Republic for 5 years now. She pretty much exclusively posts in Czech or maybe English, and is extremely anti-war. So make of that what you will. Um, a bunch of Ukrainians have been making some drama out of this. By saying that a Russian shouldn't be singing in the Ukrainian language, which the song features, but it may look like she's doing that in the music video, but in reality, she's not actually one of the vocalists. So yeah, she doesn't actually sing it out loud at the live performance. So um, take that as you will. Anyway, yeah, that was the live show. I think for the very limited time and money that they had, it actually came out all right. Although I think in future episodes they should be, catering it more to the local audience, um, because it really should be the choice of the country for Europe rather than you know Europe choosing a song for Europe. So well, not just Europe. Obviously, I can vote, but like, yeah, you get the idea. I think it shouldn't. I don't think it should have been in English. Maybe they could have had like English subtitles or something. But I think as a show, it should have been in Czech. It should have been catered to the local audience. Although some do raise a good point that maybe the Czech delegation just doesn't trust the Czech audience. And that's fair given that in 2022 they voted By Now as their favorite. By Now by Jordan Hodge and Emma Smetana, because they were the most popular of the acts. So yeah, whatever. But yeah, for what it's worth, I think the national final was okay, and I hope they get the funding that they want. So we can see a higher quality live national final, and maybe they'll broadcast it on actual live television instead of some online streaming platform. But regardless, I'm not gonna talk about the favorites and such because there weren't any results. Voting is still going on, and in fact, I'm actually gonna preview the Czech Republic in the preview section. So with that said, let's move on to Georgia. Now, with Georgia, I know it's not technically a national final. The Voice isn't really a national final. Um, but, for one, a lot of other countries use The Voice as their kind of de facto artist selection, like Belgium, pre 2023, and Azerbaijan, as well as some other countries, I think. But, yeah, so in this case, they specifically said that the winner of The Voice Georgia will be going to Liverpool for Georgia, the Republic of Georgia. And in this case, I mentioned here that in 2022 they internally selected Circus Mercus, one of the members of which was Nika Kosharov, who was the last Georgian qualifier. Nika Kosharov and the Georgian Lolitas, I think in 2016, something like that. But speaking of that, this year it was very interesting as well because even though it is The Voice Georgia, we did still see some Eurovision names on there, and by names I mean name because it was just one, and her name is Iru Hechanovi. You might not be familiar with that name, but in fact, she was one of the members of Candy from Junior Eurovision 2011 Georgia. The group sang Candy music in Yerevan, and they won. So yeah, Iru Hechanovi was part of the group which represented Georgia in Junior Eurovision 2011. I've made this mistake 3 times now, but yeah. Iru Hachinovi was part of that group, and now she's decided to return solo to The Voice Georgia as the artist selection for Eurovision 2023. Now, most people don't really follow Georgia because it's, well, Georgia. I mean, they haven't qualified for 7 years. What do you expect? Um, but I think this year it was worth following, even just for Kiru Hachinovi alone, because some people posited that the show was just rigged for her all along, but even then, whether or not it was rigged, I still think Iru put up a very competent vocal and performance. Like as I mentioned here, she's covered pop songs like "Around the World" by Daft Punk, or "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana. In fact, she actually did a mashup of those. Um, and in the semifinal, she did "Rise Like a Phoenix" by Conchita Wurst, and "Euphoria" by Loreen in the final. And you know, yeah, again, like I said, some people were suspicious that the show had been rigged for her all along, because she got a lot of backing help, I guess, that a lot of the other singers didn't have. Um, like I said here, she got to do a dance break. She had a backing string quartet, and in fact, in the final, she was placed last in the running order. Um, but and then also while she was performing Euphoria, she even got the snow from the performance. So I think, yeah, people are suspecting that her rich dad had just bought up the show. Um, I'm not gonna comment on it because regardless of it, I think she really did deserve to win. Honestly, she put up a very very competent performance, like I said. And yeah, there were also other favorites, Lika Siradze and Likuna Tutasani. These two were also favorites, especially Lika Siradze, who had actually gotten 40% of the televote in the semifinal. Well, in her group anyway. Uh, Anyways, Siradze and Tutasani ended up finally in third and fourth place, I think, or fourth and third. I'm not sure, but yeah, these were two of the favorites, and this is what happened to them. So, what will Iru do for Liverpool? Well, like I said here, I think we can expect quality because of two things. One, her English is excellent. Well, that's not the one thing actually. It's just something that I discovered the other day when she posted a video on Instagram thanking her international fans. But firstly, she's working with Giga Kuhianidze for her song, and Giga has been known in Junior Eurovision for many years now for composing a lot of the classics from Georgian Junior Eurovision that we know today, like Bzz, which was the that B sound song. I think it was in 2008 or whatever. Um, Candy Music, Wink Wink. Um, and more recently, also Mzeo. I think that was 2016 or 17. Also, Let's Count the Smiles, 2021, and most recently, I believe, in 2022. And in fact, maybe this was a hint because the 2022 Georgian Junior Eurovision entry, I believe, was also co-written by, wait for it, Iru Hechanovi. In fact, Gia Kuhianidze was just a composer for, I believe, while Iru Hechanovi and one other person were responsible for the lyrics. So I think we can expect quality because a lot of people really really liked I believe. So yeah, I think we can expect quality, and I think the Georgian delegation has done very well to finally bring their junior Eurovision guns to the adult contest. So yeah, let's see what happens. We don't know if it's going to be a ballad, if it's going to be up tempo or whatever. But what we do know is that the song is probably going to come out next month, i.e., March. So until then, let's just see what happens. And you can follow her on Instagram at Iru Hechanovi. And she's also got a Twitter, but she hasn't been active since like 2019 or something like that. But maybe she'll return for Eurovision. Who knows? So, yeah, anyways, a former member of Candy Music uh, going to do Eurovision for Georgia. Adult Eurovision. Who would have thought? With that said, let's move on to Ireland. Now, Ireland obviously returned to their national final named Eurosong, which was hosted on the Late Late Show. As I understand it, there are some like funding issues, which is why they weren't able to get it to be kind of its separate show as a national final. So they had to put it on the Late Late Show, hosted by Ryan Tuberty, who really doesn't know much about Eurovision. But yeah, there were some very famous names, or one very famous name, which we'll get to right now, and that is John Lydon, who was part of the Sex Pistols and also went by Johnny Rotten. But yeah, he is of Irish descent, but he lives in the UK, and recently he caused some controversy by going on to RTE and calling Eurovision awful or dreadful or something like that. But allegedly he has apologized for it, but I'll be honest, I haven't seen it anywhere. But anyway, his song was named Hawaii, which is actually it actually has a good intention because it's actually dedicated to his wife who has Alzheimer's. I think one of the lines in the song goes "Remember me" or something like that. But that said, the song itself didn't really garner very positive comments. For example, like I wrote here, Monzumelo wrote what Monzumelo said on the Eurovision Cast podcast that he thinks the song is strange and he doesn't understand it at all. And at the live national final, the studio professionals, which included Jedward actually, they said that he struggled in the low notes, he struggled with the high notes, and I liked his speaking voice. So, if that says anything, let's just say the performance nor the song came out particularly well. I still haven't dared to see it because I fear I will laugh my ass off. But anyway, yeah. A lot of people were worried that his popularity would just lead to him landsliding the national final, but it didn't happen actually. From all of the voting groups, the Irish jury, the international jury, and the televote, he got 6 points. According to the 12, 10, 8, 7, 6 system. So yeah, he didn't really do particularly well. He got fourth out of 6 contestants, and 3 acts placed above John Lydon, and those acts were K Mooney and ND with the song "Down in the Rain." Which actually not a lot of people really liked because it's Afrobeats. It's not super common, in national finals and such. The grand favorites, which was Connolly with the song "Midnight Summer Night," came second, while the winner was the band named Wild Youth with a song named "We Are One." Like I mentioned here, it was actually co-written by a Swedish songwriter. And you can kind of tell because the lyrics are really, really, really trite. I'm not trying to swear at it or anything. It's just trite. It's stuff that you hear over and over in motivational song lyrics, especially ones that were written by Swedish songwriters. So yeah, like I mentioned here, it actually won the Irish jury vote and the televote, and One reason that we suspect that he won the televote was because someone on Twitter posted that she had voted for Wild Youth 167 times. 167 times. How do you get the time to do that, genuinely? Um, like, notwithstanding the costs of each text, how do you find the time to vote 167 times by hand? You have to dial the number, or at least you have to type in the number, or at least type um, the number in the running order which you wanted to vote for. And someone really just took the time out of their life, their precious life, to vote 167 times. Yeah, this is why all national finals with a televote should be having caps on the number of times you can vote. Eurovision is 20, I think. MGP used to be free, but now it's one. I think Melody Festival is still free. I'm not sure. But the point is, there really needs to be a cap, because you can't just let one person overrule like at least 100 people. So, yeah, I think this person may have been the sole reason why Wild Youth won the televote. Um, but either way, yeah, it's there's nothing we can do now. Wild Youth have won the national final. Um, there are actually plagiarism allegations. Some people thought that their song sounded a bit similar to some grocery store commercial or something like that. Um, but some others have posited that maybe it's just a very generic melody. So yeah, make it out what you will. But anyway, they will be representing Ireland uh in the Eurovision Song Contest 2023. Um, in the first semifinal in the first half. So good luck to them. But also special mention to Agi with his song named "Too Good for Your Love," who had been a favorite before the show actually. But yeah, he actually, after reaching some retweet goal, he actually added 20 seconds of Irish language to his song, which was really cool. However, it wasn't very much appreciated by the voting people. So yeah, he ended up sixth. Sorry, he ended up fifth out of six contestants. But this is also now the first time since 1999 when an Irish language, when the Irish language has been sung at an Irish national final. So I guess we celebrate that. But reading hashtags, I've also seen people be disappointed about the part and said that it's too short or whatever. I'll be honest, I did not watch a single second of the national final because I think it started at like 5:30 a.m. my time, so I was not about to stay up for that. So yeah, this is what I've gathered from other people watching the national final. Oh, one more thing that I almost forgot: peanut butter. Yeah, that sounds weird out of context, but basically for some reason, in the middle of the show, they began like just handing out peanut butter to people, like big jars of peanut butter or something like that. Um, yeah, apparently this is something they do on the Late Late Show. But for it to happen during the Eurovision Special Edition is just kind of funny, and I hate to say that phrase, but you could probably add it to the Eurovision iceberg. So anyway, yeah. With that said, Wild Youth have won the Irish national selection, while Connolly, who was the big favorite before the show, came second, just 2 points behind Wild Youth. And fun fact, Connolly is only, I think, 18 or 19, and she wrote Midnight Summer Night when she was 17. Like, gosh, like, way to make me feel old. Thanks, Connolly. Um, so yeah, Connolly came second, and we certainly hope that she'll return for some future edition of the Irish national final. With that said, let's move on to Latvia. Yeah, Latvia had their national final supernova, although on the fourth it was just a semifinal, um, which I think was a pretty pointless thing because they had 14 participants and they only cut that down by four, so now they have 10 participants in the final. So yeah, one cool thing that they did though, while the voting started, was that they showed a running counter of the current televote percentage. And as you can see, Southern Lights are landsliding 21.49% of the total vote went to Southern Lights in a group of 14 participants. So now, obviously, this did change later on because Inspo, who was here at the time, actually fell to the bottom four and actually did not qualify for the final. But you can see, at least from here, that Southern Lights are just absolutely dominating the Latvian vote. And I think just a few hours ago, I also saw this tweet where two songs entered the Latvian Spotify charts. The first one is Hush by Patricia. Right here is actually also one of the favorites, but the other one is Aya by Southern Lights. Um, it actually entered the charts at 40th place, while Hush by Patricia only entered the charts at 155th place. So it's pretty damn clear which one is more popular, and at this point, I'll be very surprised if Southern Lights don't just landslide the whole thing next week, or rather this week because I'm recording on a Monday. So yeah, as you can see, Southern Lights are very, very popular, and if you ask me, that's absolutely wonderful because their song is the only one with any Latvian language in it, and it's also yeah, it's just a very nice song. Like, it's got great production. The performance was very nice. It was actually last in the running order, but the performance was very nice, very energetic. The vocals were good, so yeah, I thought it was great. So I wouldn't mind at all if Southern Lights represented Latvia in Liverpool. But also, as I mentioned earlier, Inspo with Sway had actually been disqualified, basically, or basically they didn't qualify for the final. So um, I'll be honest, I don't see the hype in them. But the Twitter apparently loves them for some reason. So a lot of people were kind of angry that they didn't qualify. But while I didn't watch the show, I also heard that apparently their live show didn't go that well. So I don't know, but yeah, Inspo did not qualify, even though they were a Twitter fan favorites. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll actually talk about Latvia in the preview section, so I'm not gonna talk about who's gonna win, even though I kind of already did. But yeah, that was the first semifinal, or rather, the only semifinal of Supernova from Latvia. With that said, let's move to their Baltic neighbor, which was Lithuania. Now, Lithuania, of course, is doing their national final Pabandovish Naujo. And they also had their first semifinal on the 4th, which again was just last Saturday. But unlike Latvia, they had two heats prior to that, which eliminated some more candidates. And in this particular one of the big favorites, Rutamur, was in this semifinal, which is actually quite interesting because in Rutamur's heat, she had gotten 12 points from both the jury and the televote, but in this case, Rutamur only got I believe was it no, yeah, it was 10 from both the jury and the televote this time instead of 12. The 12 from the jury in the semifinal went to Petunia with Love of My Life, which is a Twitter fan favorite and also my favorite. But the 12 points in the televote went to Il Senso with the song Sparne. So, yeah, quite interesting set of events. And yeah, these three qualified, obviously, Rutamur, Petunia, and Il Senso. And the other two qualifiers were Gabrielius Vagelis and also Justa Graujolite. Um, Interestingly, like I said here, Alan Chico, who was actually third in the first heat, did not qualify, even though Juste Kraujolite, who was placing fourth in Heat 1, did qualify. So, yeah, that's quite interesting. But I do think maybe Petunia could have a chance at winning the whole thing because um, in the Heat, I think she only got 2 points in the televote, but here she got 7 points. That's an increment of 5, and maybe in the finals she'll get 12. Who knows? So yeah, Petunia is kind of a Twitter favorite, I suppose. While Ruth Damur and someone else that I'm also going to mention in the preview section are the actual Lithuanian public favorites. So, with that said, let's move on to Norway. With Norway, we had the national final Melody Grand Prix, which is a very old national final, although this year they had introduced a lot of rule changes. Now, the national final, or rather the final of the national final, took place last Saturday on the 4th. It was actually quite early for them. Because it usually takes place in mid or even late February. But back to the format changes. They first of all they removed all the duels. There were no like gold duels or whatever. It was really just whoever got the most points will get to qualify. Specifically, it was 3 out of 7 who would get to qualify from each semi. And secondly, there were also no more of those pre-qualifiers. This was always something that many people found kind of weird about Melody Grand Prix. If their songs are that good that they can go straight to the final, then why not just put them in the semifinal for them to qualify? So yeah, they finally removed the pre-qualifiers, and so yeah, and in the final, they also introduced an international jury, which is worth 50% of the vote, kind of like Melody Festivalen. And they also introduced autotune, which is interesting because autotune isn't allowed in a Eurovision, and actually Eureka actually pointed this out, and she thought that it was weird that that NRK were introducing autotune to Melody Grand Prix, even though it's not allowed in Eurovision. So, yeah, there were a number of returnees, including Elsie Bay, Ulrika, Joust, with a singer named Byron Williams Jr., Kate Gulbrandsen from Norway 1987, AQV, who I think was in MGP 2020, and yeah, a lot of a few returnees, but mostly it is new names. Special shout out to uh, Erasmus Tal, who is the boyfriend of Farida, who had participated in MGP last year. But their songs are very, very different. I'll just say that much. So yeah, there was a shock in the first semifinal when neither of the two big fan favorites, like I said, AQV and also Maria Selin, neither of them qualified for the final. So that was a little bit of a shock. But regardless, the final took place on the 4th, and the winner was Alessandra Mele, who is a singer actually from Italy. In fact, some people clipped it, and in her MGP postcard, she actually swore in Italian. So I'll link that in the description if I remember. But yeah, Alessandra Mele is from Italy, but she lives in Norway now. She was on The Voice Norway, I think. So yeah, she came with a song named "Queen of Kings," um, which some have compared to "Run to the Hills" by Clara Hammerstrom from Melody Festival last year. Uh, and I can see kind of the resemblance, but they aren't, completely the same and all that. The staging is very different for starters. Um, so yeah, initially a lot of people thought Ulrika was gonna take it with her ballad named "Honestly." Um, a lot of people were especially enamored, essentially, by the free Norwegian words that were added into it. Um, as you can tell by my tone, I'm not really a fan of it, but yeah, Alessandra Mela may have been helped also by a TikTok that went viral with with Queen of Kings in the background. So, um, actually, as I speak, last night I checked, it was 5.7 million streams on Spotify, and now I think it's 6 million streams. So yeah, the power of TikTok, I guess. Yeah, so um, her song went viral, and at least I think she also gave a very good performance. Although the vocals can be improved a little bit, but it is a very powerful performance, and she's putting a lot of effort into it. So yeah, she won both the televote and the jury, so it was a pretty convincing win, if I do say so myself. Initially, there were worries that Atle Pettersen would win MGP because he was fairly popular in Norway, and one Facebook poll on the uh, Eurovision Norway Facebook page revealed that people from Norway actually did want him to win. However, in the end, he only got like, I think, 29 points in the in the televote, as opposed to 129 from Alessandra. So yeah, Alessandra won pretty comfortably, with Ulrika coming second. Although Ulrika has pledged to return to MGP one day. Um, she will continue to attempt to go to Eurovision. Although I'm not so sure about how Elsie Bay will do. So yeah, Alessandra will now represent Norway in Liverpool. It's worth noting as well that Norway is in the first semifinal, and you know who can vote in the first semifinal? That's right, Italy. That's where the 12 points are going. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to Spain. Right, with Spain, we had Benidorm Fest, which is their national final, again on the 4th, last Saturday, and it's very interesting because many people were, before looking at the live performances, many people were expecting maybe Fusa Nocta or Alice Wonder to win Benidorm Fest, but in the end, it was the returnee from Benidorm Fest 2022 who had won the whole thing. So yeah, I already wrote a lot of comments about these, but basically these three songs, Mi Familia by Fusanocta, Arcadia by Migara, Nocentera by Biko, and also Yo Quisiera by Alice Wonder. All very nice, although I still think their performances left much to be desired, let's say that much. So yeah, the voting system was the same as last year, with 50% jury, 20% 20% a demoscopic jury, whatever that is, and 30% televote via SMS or calling. So yeah, it's the same system as last year, and you could argue that it gives the jury a greater leverage, which again you could also argue is a good thing or a bad thing. I personally think it's great because, um, you know, one Spanish Euro fan had pointed out that people in Spain just generally don't know how to vote in national finals. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, the voting system doesn't change. Well, it didn't change from last year to this year, but this year it was quite questionable who exactly this demoscopic jury were, because in many cases they voted very differently to the televote. So, for example, in both the semi-final two and the final, um, their favorite was Vico with Noche Entera, simply because it was the most streamed of the songs. And one thing that I do find is interesting is that Blanca Paloma, who eventually won the whole thing, um, actually in terms of ranking had the exact same result between the semi and the final, which is to say she won the jury, she won the televote, and got second in the demoscopic jury. So yeah, that's interesting, and it was kind of, by the time the two semifinals had happened and all the scores were revealed, it was pretty clear who which two were the clear front runners for um representing Spain in Eurovision 2023. Like I said, Blanca Paloma and also Agone, who had a song named Quiero Arder, which some would describe as a better Michael Ben David. So make of that what you will, and also more red. Uh, so yeah, make of that what you will. It is kind of a gay pop anthem. Um, I guess, with a little hint of Siren Song by Maroov. So yeah, there was that. Although I think most people, uh, both Euro fans and actual Spanish locals, would agree that Blanca Paloma was better, much better executed, camera angles, staging. They both had good vocals, but yeah, the staging, the camera angles, the dancers even, you know, I think it just came together a lot better with Blanca Paloma. Um, and yes, this is the same Blanca Paloma who sang Secreto de Agua last year, although Ea Ea, which is her song this year, is very different. But still very powerful, and certainly will stand out in the grand final in Liverpool. So yeah, Blanca Paloma won the national final, and although she doesn't really speak English, she will be representing Spain in Eurovision 2023. So, like I said here, Aya Aya is kind of a modern electro flamenco song. I don't really know how to describe it. Yeah, modern electro flamenco song with electronic highlights and Arabic influences, because I think she's from Andalusia, which used to be colonized by the Moors, Al Andalus and all that. So yeah, Blanca Paloma representing Spain in Eurovision 2023. So with that said, let's move on to Sweden. Now they had their first heat of Melody Festivalen, and right here, I'm not really even gonna comment on it. These are really just the results. Cornelia went on to perform a reprise of Hold Me Closer, and many people say that was the highlight of the night, because literally no one was talking about Melody Festivalen on Saturday. Everyone was watching some other show, be it Supernova, Pawando Mishnauyo, and obviously Melody Grand Prix and Benidorm Fest. Like, no one was watching Melody Festivalen at all. Not even some Swedish locals were watching it, because they were just disappointed with the song quality, I think. And if the Crystal Ball ESC account is to be trusted, then it's not gonna get any better the next couple of weeks. So yeah, these are just the results that I've put here. I don't have anything to say about them, because I never had interest to watch it to begin with. So yeah, these are the results for Sweden. Sweden's first heat of Melody Festivalen. I will say I am surprised that Eva and Eva just got just didn't qualify for anything at all, because last year they were really popular with Rena Rama Ding Dong, and this year they just didn't get anything. So yeah, that's weird. I did hear Tonas Akelius' song, and that was all right. So I'm glad that she went direct till final. Yeah, that's about it with Melody Festival. And once it was kind of the gold standard of national finals, and on the on the Saturday with shows like Norway and Spain and even Lithuania and Latvia, just no one bothered to watch Melody Festival at all. So yeah, make of that what you will. But that is the end of the review part of this video, and those were the national finals that happened over the past week. And with that said, let's move on to the preview, where we'll look at the national finals that will happen next week. Right, next week, or rather this week, like I said, I'm recording on Monday, so yeah, this week is gonna be huge because this Saturday we're gonna have 9 shows taking place at the same time, just for one big Super Saturday. So, although there are other things happening throughout the week, so I'll also mention those. So first off, Croatia. They're having Dora on the 11th. It starts at 8:05 p.m. and the big favorite, Nevra Lele by Harmonia Dissonante, is last in the running order. So you probably don't have to stress about missing them, because they are the big favorites. So yeah, they've been placed last in the running order, and I think even the Croatian broadcaster want them to win. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's Croatia. Other than Nevra Lele, none of the other songs have really been making too much noise. And with the Czech Republic, well, we're back, and like I mentioned earlier, you can still vote right now, as of recording this. Yeah, you can go to ESCZ2023.com and you can vote for your favorite. And remember to validate the results. You'll get an email and you have to click it to validate the results. Incidentally, I also found out that you can still validate your result from 2022. I have no idea what to do with that information, so make it out what you will. But yeah, as of recording this, you can still go and vote. And the results, as of recording this, will be announced tomorrow. It will probably be some hastily edited together video. And it will probably be premiered on the YouTube channel of Eurovision. So yeah, the favorite is My Sister's Crown by Vesna. It's interesting here. I mentioned both with international fans and with viewers in the Czech Republic, because for the first time since Lie to Me in 2018, My Sister's Crown has become the first entry since 2018 to chart on Czech Spotify charts, which is huge, considering the Czech Republic is a country that generally just doesn't give a damn about Eurovision. If a song like this can make their charts, who knows what it can do at Eurovision, right? So, yeah, this is very significant. I'm not trying to, influence your results on who to vote for, vote for your favorites and all that, but I think the big favorite is My Sister's Crown by Vesna, and they probably will be going to Liverpool. But we'll see what happens. The results will be announced tomorrow. With Denmark, they will also be having their own DMGP. They will be having their own Melody Grand Prix called DMGP. And it will have 8 participants, and it will take place in the city of, and I have to get this right to sound properly Danish, Næstved or something like that. I really don't know, because Danish is a ridiculous language. Yeah, anyways, the favorites include Aya, Riley, and Maya. But I genuinely think Søren Topagård Lund could actually win the whole thing, because the song references some older Danish entries, and it tends to be older people who actually watch DMGP. But we'll see what happens. A lot of Euro fans actually regard this to be by far the best entry this year. I hope it wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. But I really do think it will, at the very least, enter the super final. So let's see what happens. And another national final that is happening on the 11th is Astilau, which is the Estonian national final. In Astilau, it's pretty much narrowed down to two main favorites, which are Alika with Bridges, which was actually co-written by Wout and Hardy, who also co-wrote Arcade and To l'Univers, and also Ollie with the song named Venom, which is a kind of pop rock song, which might remind you of Nickelback. So take that as you will. So yeah, these are the two big favorites, and the voting system is that there's gonna be a 50-50 split between the televote and an international jury, and then the top three go into a super final, which is only televote, where there will be a further, I think, 5 or 10 minutes for the Estonian public to vote for their favorites. Um, so yeah, and another name that I think could enter the super final is Annette and Freddie with the song "You Need to Move On." I absolutely adore that song, but most people don't. But weirdly enough, the HD Lau jury really seem to love jazz, and this is a jazz song, so we could see this in the super final, but we'll have to see what happens. Some other favorites include Lighthouse by Cece and Monsters by Bedwetters, but yeah, if anyone other than Alika or Ollie win HD Lau, I would be very, very surprised. So yeah, that's HD Lau, that's Estonia. Let's move on to Italy. With Italy, they're actually having San Remo throughout the entire week. As of recording this, the first night is about to start tomorrow, and they've got a lot of guests like Måneskin, Mahmoud and Blanco, the Black Eyed Peas, Madonna, Zelensky, Carla Bruni, and even some other big names. So yeah, there's gonna be some pretty big names throughout this week of San Remo, pretty much, and it runs for very long. If you're new to San Remo, it goes until like 2 or 3 a.m. Central European time, and it can even go later than that. But yeah, there are a bunch of participants, including Marco Mengoni, who represented Italy in 2013, and in fact actually said recently that he would like to do Eurovision again. And also we have Ultimo, Georgia, Colapesce Di Martino, and also I forgot to write it here, but Elodie is also back. She was a big favorite, I think, in 2020 or 21 with the song Andromeda. And this year she's back with a song named Due. One thing that's interesting though, I only just saw this today. The running order slot um, for Måneskin and Mahmoud and Blanco were the same as the running order slot this year of, wait for it, Elodie. So maybe Elodie could win San Remo for once. We'll see what happens. So yeah, with that said, that's Italy. That's just one of the shows that will happen, that will conclude on the 11th. But it will go very long, like I said. So you'll probably be finishing every single other national final way, way before San Remo ends. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But these are some of the favorites, plus LOD, and also Madame. But Madame's been kind of in this like anti-vax scandal. So yeah. With that said, let's move on to Latvia. Right, with Latvia, like I said earlier, we're having Supernova. The final is this Saturday, and like I said, Southern Lights are kind of the big favorite. Like I mentioned earlier, their song appeared on the Spotify charts at 40th place, as opposed to Hush by Patricia, which appeared 155th. So yeah, those two are kind of the big. Well, not those two even. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Southern Lights is going to win this whole thing. But Patricia could take it. But other than that, I don't see anyone else representing Latvia in Eurovision 2023. So yeah, it starts at 8:10 p.m. CET. So watch out for that, I suppose, if you care. But I really do think Southern Lights' song is genuinely good. So yeah, some other favorites are Louise and Realm, but like I said earlier, Southern Lights is probably taking it. So yeah, let's move on to Lithuania. They're not having their final on Saturday. Their final is actually next Saturday. And on this Saturday, they're only having their second semifinal, which will feature another Lithuanian public favorite, which is Beatrice. Um, Beatrice with her song named Like a Movie uh, was in the second heat, and actually, like Rudamur, got 12 points from both the jury and the televote and the public. Um, some other names also include Monica Linkite and also Gebrasi. Although Gebrasi this year seems to be really, really unpopular with the public. He got like 11th or 12th in the televote and only got points from the jury to qualify. So yeah, let's see what happens. But I think he's probably not gonna be representing Lithuania this year. Anyways, the show starts at 8 p.m. CET. If you care. And speaking of if you care, Malta. Their whole thing has just been a mess this year. Um, Random voting that started on the 3rd and ended like yesterday as of recording this. How many people have voted exactly? No one really knows. Anyways, yeah, it will be hosted by Glenn Vella and Amber Bondin. The main favorite really is just Brooke with the song Checkmate, although we don't know for sure how the Maltese public will vote. And also, EurovisionWorld.com notes that um, they might actually change the song after Brooke or whoever else wins MBSC, because they did that with Emma Muscat last year. They could very easily do it this year, so that could happen again this year. We'll just have to see what happens. I don't think anyone is going to watch MBSC on Saturday because there are just so many other shows you can watch. Um, Speaking of other shows on Saturday, Romania Selecția Națională 2023 will happen on Saturday. And it will be 100% public vote as opposed to 1/7, I think it was last year, 14.29% or whatever it was. But the three main favorites really are Fyodor Andre with Degete, Aldeda with Blah Blah Blah, and Andrea D. Folklore Orchestra with Perenica Mea. I'll be honest, if anyone other than these three win, I will be very surprised because these three are the ones with the most momentum. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but these are kind of the big favorites. And especially, I think one to look out for will be Fyodor Andre, because before, not a lot of people really liked this song, but the Romanian broadcaster posted live footage of them performing their songs, although without staging, because this is just initial. So they posted footage of them performing their respective songs, and actually, it was found that Fyodor Andre sings really well, and he also had very good camera awareness and charisma on stage. So actually, Romanians have been very positively surprised by him. So he could actually win the national final, but we'll have to see. So in the meantime, let's move on to Sweden. Like I said, it's not looking particularly good for Sweden this year, because allegedly the song quality isn't very high. In fact, according to Crystal Ball ESC, which is this kind of leaker account on Twitter, they said that ironically Tone Sekelius and Jon-Henrik Fjällgren from the first heat was probably better than anything in heat 2 and 3. But of course, that's just their opinion. You could, absolutely disagree with that. But yeah, Melody Festivalen making no noise. Anyways, yeah, this heat will have Victoria, Eden, Ujev Bandelius, Bandetos, Tennessee Tears, Maria Sur, and Teos. And of course, Teos was in Melody Festival last year with the song Som du vill. Um, this time he's also in with his Swedish language song, which we love to see. Um, so we'll just have to see what happens. Looking at the current bookmakers, um, Victoria and Maria Sur are kind of the favorites to go direct till final. Um, Especially since Maria Sur is actually from Ukraine, and she actually had to leave Ukraine due to the war and signed with, I think, Sony Music Sweden. Um, and Victoria, because, well, as Victoria, she's gone direct till final every single time. Although, again, Cristobal ESC has said that her song this time is actually very different from her previous efforts. So we'll just have to wait and see. But one thing that I actually forgot to write here is that every year, well, actually, no, every heat, the songs will be kind of premiered for press on Tuesdays. On every Tuesday, the registered press will get to listen to all the songs, apparently in a Zoom call or something. Um, while on Thursday, we'll get a 1 minute long snippet of each song, and then on Friday, we're gonna get a 30-second snippet of each song's dress rehearsal. So you can look out for that. I can't remember the exact time. I'll probably update it after I record this video. So yeah, just if you're interested in Melody Festival, you can keep an eye out for that. But to recap, we have Romania, Malta, Latvia, Italy, Estonia, Denmark, Czech Republic, and Croatia deciding their official Eurovision 2023 entries this week. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new Eurovision 2023 entries just this week. So strap in because it's gonna be wild. And with that said, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed my commentary on the national finals that happened last week and what will happen this week. And subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss my next episode, when we'll look at some more national finals and give a review on what happened on this Super Saturday, as they call it. And I'll see you next time.